This video is sponsored by Manscaped, more on them later. A wise man once said that you can do what you want because a pirate is free, and I like to think that I've done what I can to live my life in this way. It's not always doable because I don't own a boat, but I drink my rum like a good boy, so I'm doing what I can. Video game piracy is a fascinating topic that in most circumstances is illegal and morally wrong. Unless it's a decades-old game that a publisher has zero interest in making available on modern platforms, in which case, pass the Kraken yo ho! Piracy of games is illegal and stealing though, and if we can't encourage people to buy games with a convincing argument, developers can just mess with their heads a bit. Why have a message at the start of a pirated game that prevents all progress when you can simply torture a player later to the point where they doubt everything that they're experiencing? It's not psychological warfare if you're protecting your property. And not just protecting, but also shaving and grooming your property by means of good hygiene. And thankfully, this video is sponsored by Manscaped, the global men's lifestyle brand that is dedicated to male hygiene. I've wanted to talk about these guys for years because 1, from afar they looked awesome, and 2, no other sponsor lets me use the word balls as much. They sent me the Performance Package 4.0, which has just so many cool things inside, and even some light reading material about how to look after your plums properly. There's the Lawnmower 4.0, which features a ceramic blade that helps prevent any nicks on delicate areas, and the 400K LED spotlight is handy for when you need to be a bit more precise. Plus it's waterproof so you can trim in the shower and make less mess. Included in the Performance Package 4.0 is also the Weed Whacker 2.0 nose and ear hair trimmer, which has a 7,000 RPM motor and a steel blade system so you can whack those weeds better than before. This bundle also came with Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver Ball Toner Spray. The Preserver you throw in after a shower so your balls smell less like balls, and the Reviver is a quick refresh when needed. They even sent me the Shed Travel Bag and their anti-chafing boxers, which I will need for the gym, thank you. If this all sounds good, you can go to manscaped.com/RabbidLuigi and get 20% off plus free international shipping when you use the promo code BOLLOCKS20 at checkout, which is the code I suggested as a joke, but they seem to be letting me use it, so I kinda love Manscaped, guys. Thank you to Manscaped for sponsoring this video. Anyway, hoist that fucking flag already! The techniques used by developers to smoke out piracy are sometimes so niche and bizarre that they end up looking like something else. That's part of the appeal, to be honest. If, as a pirate, you were able to tell that your copy of the game is busted, you'd move on and not worry about it. Which is exactly why Batman Arkham Asylum goes for a different, more subtle approach. Quick aside, I've been replaying the Return to Arkham remaster, which has been a lot of fun for comparing 3 very different games, but you also see a progression in how these games approach gliding. Which is understandable since each new game gets larger and you need some cool gliding tech to make travel more fun, but it's hilarious going back to Arkham Asylum and seeing how underwhelming the gliding is in this game. Well, don't you worry, if you pirated this game, the gliding is even worse somehow. A great way to get pirates questioning their place in the world is by tricking them into thinking that a wacky feature of their pirated copy must be some kind of glitch. Gliding in Arkham Asylum has been replaced by awkwardly dropping off of platforms. It's not so much that the gliding is worse, it just doesn't work at all. That's a major problem since there's a ton of parts in this game where gliding is essential to forward progression, but you know what? Batman's got a grapple hook, so you can probably just use that everywhere and you'll be fine. Rocksteady saw that coming, and so they went full steam ahead with a different glitchy problem, and Batman's grapple will sometimes not work when it should, and occasionally attach itself to some random corner of the game world and drag Batman through the endless void. Obviously, people reported this to forums and Rocksteady themselves because why wouldn't you? Inadvertently outing themselves as thieves, and the line from the forum admin is as corny as it is accurate. It's not a bug in the game's code, it's a bug in your moral code. Just fabulous work all around, you people should be proud. Hey guys, real quick, my channel has been approved for YouTube memberships now, so if you fancy supporting my channel more directly, you can become a member for as little as £1 a month and gain access to some nifty perks, as well as being featured on my channel page. Hit the join button below this video if that sounds cool to you. Thank you, and let's get back to the video. I'd love to know how a video game is able to detect piracy. Maybe it's just the skeptic in me that doesn't completely buy that there's games out there that flash up some horrifying screen of Mario crying blood because you stole a video game, but it makes me wonder to what extent a developer would go to defend their creation and make their point. Grand Theft Auto 4 is one of the most popular games ever made. It was hyped into the stratosphere before it came out, and when it did, it was met with glowing critical acclaim and sold like cheeseburgers. It's a big deal, and you have to know that the bigger the game, especially any that come with an online mode, the more likely you'll have people try to acquire a pirated copy of it. Is there a degree of irony to the criminal nature of every Grand Theft Auto game in the efforts that some people would go to avoid paying money to play the latest entry? Oh, absolutely, but you play a criminal simulator so that you don't become one in real life, and if you pirated GTA 4, Rockstar had a surprise for you. The piracy protection in Arkham Asylum makes it impossible to beat the game, but GTA 4 goes for a different approach. One that doesn't technically prevent you from finishing the game, but it would take the sort of mental resolve that could easily be channeled and better used on, like, a job that would let you afford the non-pirated version of GTA 4. Surely that would be an easier way of playing this game when compared to the drunk camera in the pirated version. Listen, I'm not going to show a lot of this because I have to edit this, which would be complicated on its own, but then I need to post it on YouTube and expect my audience not to vom everywhere, so just understand the camera shakes about rhythmically, but still violently, to make playing GTA 4 nigh on unbearable. It's here in cutscenes and regular gameplay, so there's really not a lot of respite from the experience of playing this game while out to sea during some crazy storm. You know, like a pirate. Even better, and not camera related, the vehicles are all set to be as broken as possible, so every time you hop into one, it'll blow up shortly after. That does mean that GTA 4 is beatable on a pirated copy, but my god, life is too short for this. I don't want to see anyone speedrun this, don't even think about it. Just because a game's developer is perceived to be fairly laid back and chill, that doesn't mean for a second that they're going to lay down and let piracy ruin the sales figures of their video game. The Serious Sam games are serious more so in name than nature, since these games are all about shooting big guns at wacky looking aliens that usually culminates in pumping all of your ammo into some kind of hilariously massive final boss. There's comparisons to be made with something like Duke Nukem with how Serious Sam doesn't take its subject matter too seriously, and is fully aware that the people playing this game just want weird things to shoot at. Well, sure, the serious may be tongue-in-cheek for the most part, but when it comes to preventing piracy, that is something that you absolutely have to take seriously, otherwise you're leaving yourself open for thieves impacting your profits. And those are probably more dangerous than aliens. Serious Sam 3 is likely the least serious game in the series, but this is the one that decided to tackle video game piracy with a weapon of its own. The adult arachnoids are an enemy that are always a problem when they turn up in the game, but Serious Sam 3 has a smaller version of this same enemy type that can't be killed. This game has a DRM system in place that checks for cracked copies of Serious Sam 3, and if you're doing something illegal, you'll have this terrifying little scorpion guy chase you around at lightning speed throughout the game. Seriously, he doesn't get bored. He will shadow you throughout your entire adventure, and while he doesn't do increased damage or anything, he will whittle your health down over time. However, Serious Sam 3 is an FPS inspired by Doom, and if you know anything about that game, it might be that the speedrunners are fucking insane. There is a speedrun category for the Serious Sam 3 DRM Scorpion, where you beat the game as fast as possible with this invincible enemy on your tail the whole time. There you go, pirates, you just gotta get good. Or godlike. The most important part of this video's title is the word punished. It's not about a developer acknowledging that you're doing something illegal. A pirate should feel a sense of being cheated, which doesn't quite follow through because they're playing a paid release for free. Crysis Warhead is famous for being a Crysis game that no one remembers, apart from a small detail that emerges from how it implemented its digital rights management software. It's worth remembering that both Crysis and Crysis Warhead are available in certain places without a DRM integration, and Warhead is now 15 years old and super cheap, so the incentive to pirate it is non-existent. But hey, that's before you find out about what Crytek did to this game. The cruel and unusual punishment waiting for pirates in Crisis Warhead is that all live ammunition, whether that's your shots or anything that comes out of the guns of your enemies, everything has been replaced by blanks. No one does any damage to anyone, so the game isn't any challenge whatsoever, but you may have noticed that I'm underselling this a tad, because the bullets aren't just blanks, they are fucking chickens! Every gun in Crisis Warhead shoots out chickens instead of bullets in the pirated version, and obviously this means that the S part of FPS is effectively dead on arrival, but there is a hilarious novelty factor to all of this. I don't know about you, but I've never played a game where chickens come out the end of guns like this, and the fact that you've got all the enemies doing it too is even better. I quite like how many videos there are on YouTube of this, and how many of them are seeing the screen fill with chickens and assuming it's a glitch or a bug. My guy, what error in what line of code would change bullets to poultry? The only problem I have with this is that it's kind of wonderful. If I knew about this and didn't really care about playing Crisis Warhead, I think I'd just steal the game so I could mess around with chicken guns for a while. Never thought anti-piracy measures could be so counterproductive. When it comes to noticeable, flashy examples of a game clearly being pirated, you're gonna struggle to beat the chicken bullets, really. It's just too good, and it makes me sad that it's locked behind illegal activity, because this is a fantastic thing to see in a video game. Like, is this where Zelda wanted to get with cuckoos eventually? To somehow beat this, we need an extra layer of meta-contextuality. I need something that tickles my brain in just the right way, and for that, we were always likely to be looking in the direction of Game Dev Tycoon. The guys who made this game evidently poured a lot of love and indeed knowledge of how games are made into this, and they're aware of the complications that often do arise from the development process, which colours in some of the lines and gives Game Dev Tycoon a few extra dimensions. It's also self-referential as hell, and if you're not in awe of the mental gymnastics to wrap your head around creating a game in Game Dev Tycoon called Game Dev Tycoon, you might want to know how this game handles piracy. I mean, how would you expect it to handle piracy? In real life, video game piracy is devastating for indie developers especially, and can lead to lost profits at best and studio closures at worst. If you play a pirated copy of Game Dev Tycoon, you'll start to see messages about how your new release is struggling for profits, because most players are pirating the game. There's a warning about bankruptcy in there too, but maybe it's the sort of thing that can be set up as a development to create some kind of safeguard against piracy. Maybe you could set up features that mess with players who are playing unlicensed copies or something. That would be a wild idea! That level of self-awareness is thankfully absent, and instead, what happens is that every new game may still get great reviews, but the sales numbers will be terrible, meaning less profits or even a loss in revenue, which inevitably spirals down into eventual bankruptcy and a game over. For confused pirates everywhere who didn't know what they did wrong, they flooded forums asking for help without ever seeing the irony. Honestly, for a game that had 94% of the total copies being pirated one day after release, this is the most necessary and perfect response possible. It was $8 at launch. You're telling me you can't splurge for that? And that's all for now. Do you agree with me, or is there something else you'd have at number 1? Let me know in a comment down below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and hit that bell for notifications of every new upload. If you need something else to watch right now, I ranked every shrine in Tears of the Kingdom 2 weeks ago, and I also want to thank my top supporters on Patreon, including the Green Scorpion, Christopher Robinson, and Sarah Mallion. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.